The owner of a bankrupt restaurant allowed a beggar and his daughter to live in the restaurant while it was up for sale. But when he entered without knocking, he couldn't believe what the beggar was capable of doing. Luis was sitting on the curb, waiting for his daughter to come out of school. He chose the side street away from the main exit to avoid being seen. Other parents usually crowded there waiting for their children, but Luis knew that if he did that, he would receive dozens of scornful looks. They don't understand, he thought. If only they knew how hard I try to bring our life back, they wouldn't look at me like that. Luis immersed himself in his thoughts, reflecting on the harsh reality of his life. Maybe I should try harder, search more. Maybe there's something I haven't thought of, he pondered. There must be some way, there has to be. Suddenly, a sweet and energetic voice interrupted his thoughts. "Daddy, I'm here! You won't believe how many things I have to tell you." It was Sophia running towards him with a huge smile on her face. "I learned so many things. The teacher praised me and said I was very smart." She spoke without pause, each word filled with enthusiasm. Luis stood up, his face lighting up with his daughter's happiness. "Tell me everything, sweetheart. But let's talk as we walk or we'll miss lunch," he said, grabbing his daughter's backpack. Walking side by side down the street, Luis listened attentively as Sophia recounted her day. The conversation lasted until they reached Armando Navarro's restaurant. Luis and Sophia passed through the side alley of the restaurant, a place they had visited many times in the past few weeks. The restaurant was a paradise amidst their daily struggles. Armando, a middle-aged man with a rarely departing serious expression, had a heart as big as his stature. Despite his stern appearance, his generosity knew no bounds, especially for those in need. As usual, there was a small group of homeless people gathered in the alley, waiting for the day's meal. Luis and Sophia greeted some of them as they approached the door of the warehouse, where Armando organized large pots of hot food. The inviting aroma filled the air. "Hello, Luis, Sophia, how are you today?" "You arrived just in time. I've just filled the pots again," greeted Armando. "Well, thank you. Your help, Mr. Armando. You don't know how much it benefits us with these donations." "I think I'd be lost to get something for my daughter," replied Luis, his voice filled with gratitude. "You don't need to thank me every time you show up, Luis. It should be the obligation of every place. But it seems that most prefer to ignore it," Armando remarked. They took the full pot and sat down in the alley to share the food. Sophia resumed chatting while they enjoyed their meal, and they ate quietly. When they were almost done, Armando appeared and walked towards them, sitting beside Luis. Armando was a friend of Luis, and it was common for him to sit and chat with them distractedly. But this time, something was different. He seemed quite down and tired. Luis, noticing the change in his friend's mood, felt a pang of concern. "What's wrong, Armando? You seem worried. Is it something with the restaurant or your daughter?" Armando hesitated but finally confessed his situation. "Luis, things aren't going well. I'm facing serious money problems. The clientele has decreased a lot in recent months, and debts are piling up. I'm afraid that if the situation doesn't change soon, I'll have to close and sell the restaurant," he said, his voice a mixture of despair and anguish. "You being willing to help, even with your own difficulties, means a lot to me. Even though I have no idea how you could help, I genuinely hope you can overcome this phase, Armando," Luis said with sincerity and admiration. Luis smiled gratefully. "Thank you, Armando. Your help already makes a big difference to us. Although I can't do much, know that you can count on me for anything you need," he said. Shortly after, they bid farewell and walked towards their makeshift shelter. The path to the corner they called home was a tent they had set up under the cover of a small, abandoned house. A space that, despite everything, offered at least a roof against the wind and rain. The gate of the house was always open, inviting, but Luis respected the invisible boundaries imposed by the possibility of an unknown owner and never risked entering the house, sticking to the use of the small covered patio. The day went by without them getting another meal. When night fell, Luis and Sophia settled inside the tent to sleep. The silence was only filled with the sound of their quiet breathing and the occasional distant noise of the city. Luis stared at the tent's ceiling, lost in thought. "I need to find a way out for us. Sooner or later the solution will appear, I'm sure," he reflected, his mind tirelessly working to find solutions. Sophia, already asleep, breathed softly beside him. Sophia, already asleep, breathed softly beside him. Using the covered courtyard for shelter, the day passed without them managing another meal. When night fell, Luis and Sophia settled inside the tent to sleep. The silence was only filled with the sound of their calm breathing and the occasional distant noise from the city. Luis stared at the tent's ceiling, lost in thought. I need to find a way out for us. Sooner or later, a solution will appear, I'm sure, he reflected, his mind tirelessly searching for solutions. Sophia, already asleep beside him, breathed softly. She is the only reason I keep fighting. She is all I have and I am all she has. I can't give up for her, Luis thought determinedly, also drifting off to sleep. Part of the night passed peacefully and quietly. However, the stillness of the early morning was suddenly interrupted by a harsh, authoritative voice, waking father and daughter inside the tent. You two, get out of there now. Come out or I'll have to tear this tent down. Did you hear me? The voice, filled with authority, startled them awake, their hearts pounding in their chests. Sophia, still disoriented from the interrupted sleep, looked at her father with fear and confusion. Dad, what's happening? Why are they calling us? She whispered, her voice trembling. Luis, trying to keep calm in the face of his daughter's fear, responded quietly but firmly. Stay here, Sophia, I'll see what's going on. Don't leave the tent, he instructed, trying to convey a confidence he didn't feel himself. As Luis stepped outside, he was met with the imposing figure of a police officer, the patrol car parked on the street with its red and blue lights flashing in the darkness. The officer, with a stern expression, wasted no time. You're trespassing on this property, and judging by the state of the gate, it seems you forced your way in. The accusation was grave, and Luis quickly tried to explain the situation. Sir, we haven't invaded anything. The gate has always been open, and the house is completely abandoned. We were just seeking shelter, Luis said, desperation creeping into his voice. But his words seemed to hold no weight. The officer cut him off. That doesn't matter. You can't stay here, abandoned or not. This is private property. If you don't leave now, I'll have to arrest you and take the girl with me. The threat was clear, and Luis knew he had no choice. The fear of being separated from Sophia, of leaving his daughter alone, was unbearable. He gave in and, crouching to look inside the tent, told Sophia, "We have to go now. Take your backpack. We'll find another place to rest, okay?" he said, trying to conceal the tremor in his voice. Together, they left their makeshift shelter, passing by the patrol car. As they walked away, Luis felt the weight of the officer's gaze on his back, trying desperately to ignore the urge to run as fast as he could. Walking under the blanket of the night, Luis struggled to hold back tears, Sophia's hand squeezing his tighter. Luis looked down at his daughter's face, seeing a resilience that always surprised him. Everything will be okay, Dad. Those bad men at least didn't hurt you, she said with a conviction that squeezed Luis's heart. I have to be strong for both of us, Luis thought, as they left behind the only shelter they had. I can't cry in front of her, no matter how much I want to. I need to stay strong. Walking under the vastness of the night sky, Luis and Sophia finally stumbled upon a square, a quiet space where they could rest. The exhaustion was visible in Sophia, who fought sleep and fatigue with each step. Noticing her effort, Luis chose a secluded bench, a place where they could rest for a moment. With gentleness, he settled Sophia in his lap, offering what little comfort he could in this uncertain situation. Before falling asleep again, Sophia murmured weakly, "Dad, I'm hungry. There's nothing to eat until tomorrow. I don't like the school food much." Those simple, direct words struck Luis like a dagger. The feeling of helplessness in not being able to feed his daughter was overwhelming. How can I protect you from the world if I can't even give you something to eat, he thought, the pain of this reality cutting deep. Fighting back tears threatening to fall, Luis stroked Sophia's hair, trying to offer some comfort. I know, sweetheart, I know. But tomorrow at school, you'll have something to eat during recess. Just a little more patience, okay? It'll be daylight soon. With tired eyes and hunger gnawing at her, Sophia looked up at her father and smiled. Okay, Dad, I love you very much. You know, I promise I'll grab some cookies for you, she said before finally falling asleep, lost in her own thoughts. While Sophia slept peacefully in his lap, Luis allowed himself to cry silently. Each tear carried the weight of his perceived failure as a father. God, how long will I have to make her live like this? He pondered, his heart aching with pain and the unconditional love he felt for his daughter. Looking up at the night sky, Luis searched the stars for any sign of hope, any indication that things might somehow get better. Please, give me the strength to change our luck. I'll accept anything. I'll do anything. I just need a chance, he whispered to the universe. A silent prayer from a desperate father for a better future for his daughter. At the dawn of a new day, the routine repeated itself with Sofia by his side. They made their way to school, a ritual that, despite the circumstances, provided Luis with a sense of normalcy and purpose. The morning passed slowly, each moment marked by the lingering worry about what the future held for them. When it was time to pick Sofia up, Luis was in the usual spot, waiting for her with a disguised anxiety. Together, father and daughter walked towards Armando's restaurant, but a new blow awaited them as they approached. A for sale sign was nailed to the restaurant's facade. Luis's heart sank at the sight. The reality of the situation cut deeper than he expected. This can't be happening. Armando wouldn't give up like this. It's because of him that my daughter eats more than once a day. I won't let this happen, he thought, his shock turning into a strong determination. As they prepared to receive their meal for the day, curiosity and concern prompted Luis to ask Armando about the sign. Armando, what's that sign? I can't believe you're giving up on the restaurant. I know you too well to see you give up like this. Luis's gaze was filled with concern. Armando's expression was a mix of resignation and sadness, a mirror of the internal struggle Luis was facing. I had no choice. The restaurant's financial situation became unsustainable. Selling was the only way out for me. I'm sorry for you two and for everyone else, but there's nothing more I can do. However, this week I guarantee you'll still have something to eat. I'll need to travel for a week and my daughter will take care of Luis, surprised by Sofia's statement, felt his face flush with a mixture of emotions. He looked at Victoria, who seemed equally taken aback, but smiled warmly at Sofia's innocent remark. That's very sweet of you, Sofia, Luis replied, his voice tinged with a hint of uncertainty. Victoria is indeed a wonderful person, but... He trailed off, unsure of how to proceed. Victoria interjected gently. Thank you, Sofia. That means a lot to me. Sofia nodded, seemingly satisfied with her observation, and returned to her soup, oblivious to the complexity of adult emotions swirling around her. As they continued their meal, Luis couldn't shake Sofia's comment from his mind. It had stirred up a mix of feelings he hadn't anticipated. He glanced at Victoria, who met his gaze with a soft expression that conveyed understanding. After finishing their soup, Victoria offered to show them to their makeshift sleeping area in the storage room. As they settled in for the night, Luis couldn't help but feel a glimmer of hope flickering in the darkness. Perhaps in the midst of their struggles, there was still room for unexpected connections and moments of kindness. With Sofia snuggled close beside him, Luis closed his eyes, allowing himself to drift into a restless sleep, filled with dreams of a brighter future for them both. Warmth flushed his cheeks in a deep shade of red, as embarrassment flooded him instantly while he searched for the right words to apologize, nervously laughing. Sofia, for heaven's sake, Victoria, I'm terribly sorry. She's just a child. You know how kids are, right? He stammered, not knowing exactly what to say. Victoria in turn blushed at the comment, but her reaction was met with a genuine laugh and a warm smile. Don't worry, Luis. She's absolutely adorable. I understand with everything going on, it's difficult for both of you. You must really miss having a mother, Victoria said, her voice filled with affection and amusement. That brief interlude of discomfort did not dampen the spirit of the night. On the contrary, it added a layer of intimacy and humanity to the encounter. The conversation continued for some time until Victoria decided to leave. She bid farewell, and only father and daughter remained in the darkness and silence of the storeroom after Victoria's departure. Luis and Sofia settled on the mattress, which now served as a bed in the confined space of the storeroom. The atmosphere was peaceful, a comfortable silence filling the space. After the energy and warmth of Victoria's presence, as they lay trying to find comfort on the makeshift mattress, Luis's mind still echoed with the laughter and conversations of that night. However, before falling asleep, Sophia broke the silence. "Dad, I saw how you looked at Victoria. You like her, don't you?" "There's no point in lying to me. You look like a fool." The question, asked with disarming simplicity, made Luis laugh, surprised. "Bedtime, little one. Enough talking for today." "I'm tired," he said. Although his heart warmed at her observation, Sophia added with a laugh, "She liked you too, you know. I could tell. She was all giddy with you." Her words, spoken with the innocent confidence of youth, left Luis surprised. He watched Sophia close her eyes, a contented smile on her lips as she settled into sleep, leaving Luis alone with his thoughts. Luis's mind revolved around the possibility of that assertion. Could it be true? Could Victoria really have felt something for him? Or is it just Sophia's imagination? She's just a child. It could just be her fertile imagination. The idea seemed somewhat improbable to be real. He certainly felt something for Victoria, but the reality of their circumstances made a reciprocated feeling seem impossible. As these thoughts enveloped him, Luis succumbed to fatigue and fell asleep. The next morning, Victoria, with her usual energy, served breakfast for Luis and Sophia, a kindness that went beyond expectations. As they enjoyed the simple but lovingly prepared meal, Victoria asked Luis about his plans for the restaurant. "Do you have any ideas on how to help the restaurant? My father said you're good at advertising and might have some ideas." Her curiosity genuine, mixed with a hint of hope. Chewing his bread, Luis replied, "I'm still thinking, but I'd like to take a look inside the place. Maybe there I can have some idea. Knowing well what you're going to advertise is very important to create something really eye-catching." Victoria, realizing Luis's need for space and time to work, offered to take Sophia to school. "I can take Sophia with me so you can concentrate better and have more time to think about your plans." The offer was more than a gesture of help. It was a sign of trust and support for Luis's effort. Grateful, Luis accepted, thanking Victoria for her generosity. "That would be great. Thank you, Victoria. I assure you that all your support and affection for both of us will not be in vain, just like your father's trust in me." His gratitude was deep, relieved to know that Sophia would be in good hands. His gratitude was profound, relieved to know that Sophia would be in good hands after the girl's departure. Luis walked through the storeroom door leading to the kitchen. From there, he made his way to the main part of the restaurant, where empty tables awaited the customers who did not arrive. The silence of the enclosed space was profound, but for Luis, it was a vast field of potential. As he inspected the place, his eyes fell on an easel with a chalkboard near the entrance, the welcome sign inviting customers to enter. It was then that an idea began to take shape in his mind. When Victoria returned, Luis was waiting for her, sitting on the storeroom crates, the energy of his new idea overflowing with anticipation. He shared with her the vision he had. What if we use that entrance sign of the restaurant to announce something different, something that makes people want to come in and see what's happening? The excitement in his voice was contagious. Luis continued, "We can advertise special dishes, promotions, or even themed events. Something that changes regularly and creates a sense of novelty and anticipation." He spoke with confidence, his experience in advertising shining through the plan. Victoria listened attentively, her face lit up by the prospect of positive change, but still showing a hint of insecurity. "The idea is really good, Luis, but we need to take into account the current conditions of the restaurant. We can't afford to generate many extra expenses," she explained, her voice laden with a mix of optimism and caution. "We need something simple but effective." Luis nodded, understanding Victoria's reservations perfectly. He closed his eyes for a moment, letting his mind work through the tangle of possibilities, searching for a creative solution that would fit the situation. Then, as if a light bulb went off in his mind, an idea emerged. What if we made games, for example? A customer could order a random dish, any dish from the menu, it would be served. But before eating, they would have to guess the name of the dish. If they guess right, they win the dish and a free drink. Victoria's hesitation quickly gave way to growing enthusiasm. The simplicity and brilliance of the idea captivated her. "That's brilliant, Luis. It's a fun and engaging way to attract people to the restaurant without requiring a big investment. Plus, it creates an amazing experience for the customers." Her admiration for Luis's activity only increasing Victoria's enthusiasm was such that she impulsively stepped forward and hugged Luis. The spontaneous gesture momentarily caught him off guard, his face reddening with the sudden proximity. Embarrassment mixed with a touch of joy tinged his cheeks red as he gently returned the hug. As they pulled away, both with shy smiles on their lips, the energy between them had subtly shifted. However, Luis cleared his throat, trying to refocus the conversation. "Let's start planning then. We need to spread the word and maybe even think about other games or events we can do. We should do something different every day so that customers always have a reason to come back," Victoria nodded, inspired by Luis's determination. "Yes, let's do it. And I have some other ideas that might work well considering the budget." The conversation continued, both exchanging thoughts and suggestions, a renewed feeling of hope filling the space. At that moment, the future of Armando's restaurant seemed on. Music, and in Luis's presence, she discovered something about herself that she hadn't known before. The feeling of watching Luis play, the way his skilled hands drew melodies from the guitar, was like witnessing a kind of magic. In that moment, she realized that her admiration for music and the act of singing was only part of the reason for her emotions. What truly enchanted her was Luis himself. Recognizing this truth brought a whirlwind of emotions, a mix of happiness for the discovery and anxiety. After the last note was played and the last verse sung, Victoria was radiant. The initially terrifying experience of performing had transformed into a source of excitement. "Thank you so much for this, really. Now I know I can do it, and I'll give it my all." "Let's bring music to the restaurant," she said, her voice filled with a new confidence. When the restaurant reopened its doors the next day, a new energy vibrated in the air, announced by the renewed sign promising live music and a musical challenge for the customers. Live music, guess the song's name, and win a dessert. This unusual promise for a neighborhood restaurant aroused the curiosity of many, attracting an audience seeking not only a meal, but an experience. Luis had dedicated himself to setting up a small, improvised stage with fruit crates, creating a cozy space for Victoria to perform. Despite the simplicity of the stage, it was a beautiful setting due to the colorful fruits. Luis, dressed in the work clothes provided by Victoria, took on the roles of service and kitchen with surprising skill, proving to be a top-notch cook. Little Sophia wasn't left behind. She assisted her father with a seriousness and dedication that charmed. She passed ingredients, collected dishes and glasses, and moved around the kitchen with a grace only little girls possess. As the afternoon progressed, the restaurant filled up more and more. Customers, attracted by the novelty of live music and the proposed challenge, poured in. Victoria, with her sweet and captivating voice, enchanted everyone, transforming the space with her melodies. Each song was met with enthusiastic applause, and the customers eagerly participated in the game, each trying to guess the name of the songs to win their promised dessert. Meanwhile, Luis, though busy with the demands of the full restaurant, never missed an opportunity to admire Victoria whenever he could. With each step on the stage, he allowed himself a moment to observe her singing, a smile always blooming on his lips. Those brief moments when their gazes met and smiles were exchanged were only interrupted by the need to attend to the calls of the customers. Still, Luis's smile remained, a reflection of the charm and deep admiration he felt for Victoria. When Luis returned to the kitchen after one of those moments, Sophia, with her keen observation, commented, "Dad, you have that silly smile again." "I haven't given up on having a mom yet," she said with a hint of mischief in her voice. Surprised by Sophia's comment, Luis quickly changed the subject to work. "Let's focus on the dishes now, okay? We have a lot to do as for conversing, and be careful with the glasses." He tried to keep his voice neutral, but his heart was light and he almost felt like floating. It was evident that for Luis, that day not only secured the survival of the restaurant, it was also the start of something unexpected. Nervously laughed. After that day, the course of everyone's life took an unexpected turn. Armando's keen observations about the connection between Luis and Victoria turned out to be true. Luis proposed to Victoria shortly after Armando's return, and Victoria's affirmative response was not a surprise to either Sophia or Armando. The wedding was celebrated 2 months later. In the meantime, Luis became part of the restaurant team, joining Victoria not only to maintain the thriving establishment, but also to reach bigger dreams together. Their collaboration, based on mutual respect and shared passion, helped accumulate enough resources to purchase a house. Sophia, who had become a constant and cheerful presence both in the restaurant and in Luis and Victoria's life, received the news of having a new sibling with indescribable happiness. This announcement added new meaning to what was already a story of overcoming challenges and unity, symbolizing the beginning of a promising lineage full of love. Over the years, the restaurant not only remained a beloved meeting point in the community, but also expanded, becoming a successful franchise in the city. Luis's innovative vision, combined with Armando's tireless dedication and Victoria's unwavering support, transformed the restaurant into a symbol of resilience, creativity, and success. The stability achieved by the family was a testimony to the power of collaboration, love, and faith in dreams. The days of struggle and uncertainty gave way to a future of prosperity and joy, where each new challenge was seen not as an obstacle, but as an opportunity to grow and strengthen together. Their legacy, marked by music, the unforgettable taste of their dishes, and the love between them, became a source of inspiration for all who crossed their path. A reminder that with unity and love, it's possible to turn dreams into reality. If you enjoyed this story, I invite you to like and subscribe to the channel. Your support inspires us to continue publishing exciting stories almost every day. Stay tuned so you don't miss the next incredible story coming soon to your screen. We greatly value your support. See you soon.